Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to Mrs. Elmi Group. We are starting our season 2 with Warda Yassin. Hi, Warda. Are you able to tell us all about yourself, Habibti? Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam. Thank you for having me, Samsam. I'm really excited to be here. I'm Warda. I'm Sheffield based, born and bred, and I teach secondary English and I write poetry. In the past kind of couple of years, I've been lucky enough to publish a pamphlet called Tea with Cardamom that kind of just explores themes of family, faith, community, just anything I want really in my life. And I'm really, really passionate about encouraging young people to write poetry as an expression, to build their confidence, but also to get them engaged with writing as well, which we both know as school teachers as well. Often children, whilst being very creative, can lack kind of the initiative or sort of like the willpower to bring that to life as well. And I actually am dyslexic, so when I was in primary school, my relationship with words weren't always obvious. I was really encouraged by my primary school teachers on my elbow as well. He'd take us to the library and he'd make sure that we were a reading household, that there was always books. I'd go every Saturday. And I think without my relationship with reading, I wouldn't have gotten to a place where I was confident enough to write and kind of like explore worlds of my own as well. So one thing I'd advise, if there's any parents that are watching as well, that the joys and the benefits of encouraging your children to read and to read widely cannot be emphasized enough as well. And it's a massive part. I think all writers are voracious readers, and I think that is important as well. You know, the boys, and boys, the reluctant boys, get them reading. And my brother, we used to get him to read little Percy Jackson books, and my youngest sister as well, Sundus, when she's exploring with poetry as well, but she's been reading her whole life. So I would really encourage reading. And I think parents always ask me in secondary school, like, how can we get them to be good at English? And I always tell them, are they reading? And and I think there is a massive relationship. So that's what I'm an advocate. I really am passionate about that as well. And I think, but mostly I love the confidence that they get from poetry and the sense of accomplishment and like, I don't know, happiness. I think it makes them happy.
Yeah, I agree. No, I totally agree. Reading is very important. It opens up a lot of doors for you in education, the foundations of your education, mashallah. So I think you briefly covered, but what or who inspired you to become a poet? And we're going to get into this in a second.
So obviously, being Somali as well, we know that poetry is just like, it's just a free form that belongs to everyone. Yeah. It really runs quite deep, and I knew that I was reading a lot, and I was reading so much. But my late Atiyah as well was a poet, so he'd write like gabais, he'd write more like religious ones, he'd write just to celebrate, he'd write one about my mom, my aunties, his wife. So he kind of was really widely writing from a younger age. But also, as I said before, like I was really used to just my ears, like I feel like sometimes they make the air for us and it's like poetry. They'll tell us their life story and it's like poetry. So it's like a very oral form as well. And I felt like there was a lot of storytelling in my childhood as well. But it wasn't until I was 19, which is quite late, I guess, in many ways, that when I was in university and I was doing like doing an English degree, so I was always interested in English, that I made that connection to it in a personal level, that I could write about my experience, my family, my life, how I saw the world, things that I dreamt about and things like that. So I was always encouraged by my father to read, but then mostly it was like Hoya and Atiyah that inspired me. And I remember like we'd use like the family chat for voice notes, and like anytime someone was like sad or happy, they would like record poems for them and send them to them. So it was always something that I found to be a way to express love or appreciation and to shed light on things. But it wasn't until I was reading poetry more formally. I was introduced to like Warda Yassin when I was about 19. I was so inspired by her, and she was also Somali as well. And I felt like I could also explore this and have a go at writing poetry myself. But for many years it was a very private part of my life, like not even my family and my friends knew until I was about in my early 20s. And then when I was gaining more confidence and I was in workshops, so I'm in a local workshop that in Sheffield called Hive, and I met my mentor Vicky Morris, and I just kind of like, to put it like, blossomed in this kind of like community of like such warm women that would encourage me. And I, as the years fluctuated. It became less of a routine. It was like a hobby. I would write every night. I would take myself in the weekends to write, and it became like this kind of staple that was part of my life. And then when I won the New Poets Prize, then had the opportunity to publish. But by then I was writing for a good few years, and I was enjoying it so much for myself. So I think that part of it amplified on a public sphere, but before that it just kind of was for me, and it still really is. There's a lot of things that keep. And then fast forward a few years, I was and I still teach in Hindhouse. I love our students, love our school, very proud to work there. And then I was really lucky enough to be Sheffield Poet Laureate in October, which is a role created by Majid, our former Lord Mayor. It's also a really like an incredible Somali figure in the city. And so I've just started that, and then what else need to add? And then I was really, really lucky as well to be one of the recipients of the Women's Poets Prize early last month, which alhamdulillah I was really, really.
You made us all proud, by the way.
Thank you. I was really moved by that, and really, grateful, and looking forward to working with the organisations that come a part of that prize as well. Most importantly, I just feel these past kind of couple of years I've really kind of grown to be more confident, and to proudly say that I write poetry, and I'm happy about it.
Okay, fabulous. So my favorite, I mean, they're all good. I've read each and one of them, mashallah, and it's really amazing. But my favorite, and one that I can kind of connect with, because I have a lot of sisters myself.
How many sisters do you have?
5.
Wow. That's
so
amazing.
one younger and 4 older, and I have 2 brothers as well, mashallah. So we're a big family. So my favorite one is My Sisters. Do you mind reading that for us? I want to hear your voice as well, mashallah.
That was one of the early ones I wrote that, I think. I love that. I think was one of the formative ones, and it was I was not going to put it in there, and then my sister Ayan was like, "You better put that in there," and I was like,
"Right,
okay.
I agree with her." How dare you not?
It's called My Sisters. My sisters have given me an insult-proof vest. They shot me first, gifting me with the armor against the sting of others' words. Now I'm immune to the insults of the universe. Ayan cares for nothing. Zuhur is unbeaten at scoffing. Sundus is wide-eyed and watching. Ikram taught me about plotting. So my secrets are spoilt with options. Each advice purple, green, red, and orange. My sisters would have been my friends long before God intervened with blood. They remind me to release my forked tongue, to reject calls when they're in the wrong. They are unruly teachers with lessons in how to grow. They assure my soul it's the best they know.
MashaAllah. So that I connect with that more, because long before we make friends and we start falling out with our friends, we fall out with our sisters.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they tell us the things that we really don't want to hear about ourselves. So, and in a way, it kind of, prepares us for this world and the mean friends that we're going to come across. So, what prompted that poem? Like,
I can't remember. It was a long time. It was a long time ago now. But I think it was the line. They remind me to reject calls when they're in the wrong. I'm growing up. I was quite the more shy sister as well, and some of my sisters have more kind of like bigger personalities and things. So then I'd always remember that they would encourage me to stick up for myself, and they'd be like, "No, don't take that," and I'm like, "Okay." When I was younger and more tentative as well, so I think it was kind of that. You kind of build on, whereas one can be shy, one could be more confident, one could be more stronger willed. I think often sisters balance each other out as well, and what one lacks often another has too much of as well. So I think it kind of came from that as well. And so we were just really close growing up, and we still are as well. So I think it was just for them. That was one of the earlier ones as well. And ironically, my said sister Sundus now is like, she's just turned 16 as well, and she's a poet as well. Wow. So it's one of those things that is like kind of full circle. But yeah,
great. Okay, so often, like yourself, I'm always asked about how to encourage and increase creativity in our children when it comes to writing. And other than what I've been told time and time again when I was in school, university, and so on, was always to read first, and then you'll get your ideas from there, and then from there on, hopefully, some creativity will develop. Do you have any tips for parents of younger children currently maybe in year 5, year 6, going on to secondary school?
Yeah, of course. I have loads of relatives that
Yeah.
age, and I do teach secondary, but I have worked with primary over the years. And first, kids are really intelligent. I think you have to work with kids to know just how intelligent they are, and they have like a lot of wisdom. They're so curious as well. So really, like, encourage that curiosity. You know, really focus on making them critical thinkers, and giving them just, you know, making them read widely as well. Just, but not just like what they think is young books as well. You know, make them read the classics if that's what they want, and really open up their minds as well. So that's one thing as well. And encourage writing. The idea of being a dyslexic writer, before I was kind of like able to use paragraphs and punctuation, and about, you know, in primary school as well, I was still writing my ideas, and then I was crafting them afterwards as well. So it just, I think it's just nurturing their creativity by allowing them, giving them permission, encouraging it, setting aside time for it. For us, it was, we'd go to the library every Saturday. And it was something that I really looked forward to doing, and it was I have many wonderful kind of childhood experiences in doing that, in going to the library, and it's something that I look fondly at as a bonding experience, and use creativity to bond the family together, and I'd encourage families, particularly with Somali. We have such a rich oral history. There's so much stories, so much. I'd encourage with sharing that, you know, sitting down and sharing them with your children, and you know, and that's how I started. It was my AAs that really inspired me, and I was so interested in it, because our childhood couldn't be any different from Sheffield to, you know, one of my AAs grew up in the Me, and the other one, Lana Harris, we grew up in kind of Bedbury as well. So they seem like these magical places, and they had, you know, this childhood almost like in this really beautiful open space of nature and running wild, and so much kind of history, and you'd be surprised with how much they'd be interested to hear that. I think if there was a lot more kind of sharing of stories, sharing of moments, and just giving each other permission, giving them books, and allowing them to ask questions, and answering them. And I think that's all it takes, really, just that spark. It might not be that they want to write professionally. It might be that it becomes a hobby, or something that helps them with their mental health. It could be something that helps them with their confidence. I find being a teacher, and this past kind of couple of years, now that kids in the school know that I write poetry, I've seen children that I would never imagine to write poetry bring it to me proudly. They're writing about their stories and their families in Yemen. They're writing about their own mothers, you know, and they're like, then they're saying, "Miss, can I take a picture? I want to show them." And there's this pride that it's lovely. It's so moving. There's this pride it gives them in themselves, and the self-belief that it instills them, which is so wonderful to see as an educator, and even more so as someone that also writes, because there are so many benefits to it, that I would encourage all children to be involved, and adults as well.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, it all starts with just the note taking, and you know, writing your diary right before bed, and that's how, you know, majority of ideas develop. So
you used to keep a diary?
I used to keep a diary when I was a kid, and me and my younger sister would read each other's diaries, you know, behind our backs. But never tell on each other, though. Never.
I like the kingmanship. I like the secrets.
So what's to come for you? Are there any more to come that we should be looking forward to? Any more poems?
Inshallah, you know, I still want to continue with what I'm doing. I still want to grow in my career as a school teacher, but also in writing as well. I'm working towards the first collection, which I hope will, which I'm not putting a deadline on. I just want to be able to kind of grow new experiences and experience life as it is, and write. I want to explore different art forms, but I'm really interested with working with my school and other schools, and encouraging young people to write. So I run this project alongside Hive. It's called Mixing Roots, and it encourages young girls, girls of colour mostly, but we don't. Anybody who's joined will never turn anyone away, and it's with young girls, and we're encouraging them to write about their lives and their families, or if they don't want to, about their imagination. And we're looking at an anthology last year, so inshallah I'm really looking forward to teaming up with some local organisations, Hive and others, and we're supported by Sheffield University at the moment, and getting an anthology out hopefully for the summer, and encouraging more young girls to get that sense of pride, to get the confidence, and all the joy and trappings that writing brings. I'm really looking forward to facilitating more projects, writing more for myself as well, but also seeing young people grow into their voices and themselves and exploring
but what about us in London? How are you going to
London.
take care of us?
Well, London has me.
Everything you've mentioned so far is all about Sheffield.
That's true, you know, you are right. And I think what it is, it's interesting because when I first started this whole writing poetry thing, everything was in London. It felt like if you weren't in London, if you weren't writing in London, then you were somewhat excluded. So it's actually really exciting that things are happening in places like Manchester and Sheffield in the north, and like the arts are not just so London centric anymore, and other people's voices and are getting a chance as well. But obviously London is London. It's London. They'll never shy of opportunities, and there's so much as well. But I'll, you know, inshallah, I would love to, you know, for us to actually get together and do something.
That would be good. We should do that, like a club. Obviously, COVID permitting, once all of this cloud has left us. Couple of more other questions I have for you. One is, are you planning to translate this into Somali one day?
That's a really good question. Well, obviously with Somali, like obviously like with my auntie and my dad as well, they often help me with like translations and things like that. And I don't know why. I can speak Somali well, but unlike my sisters who studied it formally, like she has qualifications in it. School gave her that opportunity as well. It's something that I'm working on and I'm building on as well. I really have this dream to translate some of my aunties and aunties' poems, maybe not for a public Sophia, maybe just for us as a family as well. So I'm working on the tools to garner that, but I'm currently not as like talented to just translate into Somali. But when I gain that kind of written understanding of it, and inshallah one day, I'd love that. But that's something I want to do for my family, my mum, my sisters, and things like that. What about you? Do you read poetry?
I don't write any poems, to be honest. I don't think I'm that good at English. I don't think so. But I'm going to give it a go. I'll give it a go because I've been inspired by this collection. It's amazing, mashallah. The next question that I had for you is, out of the collection that you have, which one is your favorite? Which one do you more feel connected to?
That's interesting. I think at some point, you know, there's one in there called Sheffield Children's Hospital that was quite hard to write, and it's about visiting a young person that is after kind of like some violence as well, and observing that. So each one, I think, when I wrote them, had a different kind of significance or a moment as well. But I think probably some of the later ones at the end, I think the last one feels most where I'm at right now, because some of these I wrote when I was like 16, 17, and
searching for my father's
tree. So my abo, which I talk a lot about, grew up in the me. So and he'd often joke when we were growing up, he'd be like, oh, I was born under a tree, and he probably was to some extent as well. So when we went to Brown,
you went to look for the tree.
I did, and I kept saying to my cousins, I was like, so where's Sheffield? That's what we used to call it when we were little. Like, where is it? And they're like, what are these kids from England about? What do I actually care about this? But I didn't find it. But then I was kind of inspired to kind of write about some of the lessons that he taught me and things. But there are a lot, you know. There's one in here called Learning the Janaza Prayer a couple of years ago. That was the first time I was learning it. So it's so personal that others have a weight, but I think the one that feels most recent is probably the most recent, and that's the last one that I wrote about visiting the Albers village a couple of years ago.
No, it's and I also like the other one about his passport.
Oh yeah, that one is also very close to my heart as well. That is kind of about the relationship between two family members that I had, and they, mashallah, they were just such a beautiful couple as well. But due to kind of like border control and passport and separation, often their love story was scattered across the globe as well, and there were times where they were restricted from seeing each other. And as the poem says in the final stanza, they did end up, when he passed, they were in separate continents. So it was heartbreaking, and so that one definitely holds resonance as well. I would say Searching for My Father's Tree, and I'd say his passport, and Sheffield Children's Hospital.
Yeah. So have any schools approached you about your poems for them to showcase the year 11s, the year 10s as part of the studies in school?
Oh, that's interesting. That's is this whole. I think because it came out last year. It's a pamphlet, so it's like more like a mixtape as opposed to an album. But it's kind of an earlier kind of piece of writing. But I've been so grateful with how it's been received, kind of in my local community, and such generous reviews I've received that I wasn't. When you put something out, you never actually expect for it to be written. So I've been, alhamdulillah, really grateful for that. I have on Twitter, because I have a Twitter and I'm very boring and just professional on it, and just like I've been really really struck. I had a teacher based in Birmingham the other day that said that she shared this other one that's called Somaliland, which is kind of like a recent one that's published in Poetry Birmingham, which is like a fantastic magazine as well, that she's been sharing with her students and other teachers as well. In Bristol is a really lovely supportive school that have it a part of a scheme of work for their year rates, and I was like because I'm a teacher as well, so that stuff is just
that's a big deal.
It's really, I feel very, alhamdulillah, very grateful for that kind of thing, because it's nothing that you ever picture or imagine. Because obviously in my school I love teaching poetry, and I teach it for GCSE and Key Stage 3 as well, and there is a component where it's called unseen, so you can almost teach anything. So I know how much joy I derive from teaching that part of the curriculum, so to even imagine that I feature even in some way in someone else's is incredibly humbling and lovely.
No, I back in the Black History Month, back in October, this is why I wanted to have the PDF copy of these pamphlets. I briefly covered it in my class, which was well received, mashallah. Some of the kids, because I've got 2 Somali kids in my class, and when I told them they were written by a Somali girl, they were like, "Oh my God!" So now everyone's asking for the link. Where can I buy this? Where can I buy this book? So it's been very very eye-opening, wallahi, mashallah. And the hope with this is to encourage a lot of kids in the future that there is no limits to what you can do.
There really isn't. Of course, absolutely.
So, any last advice that you have for parents, for young children that are currently in schools?
I think it's, as we were talking about this earlier as well, just before we started recording. As teachers, this has been a really difficult year. We're adults. I'm sure there's been a lot of, there's a lot of kind of confusion with young people as well. There's many kind of concerns about how this pandemic is, impacting their mental health. They're limiting their social interactions, kind of changing the face of education this year. So, of course, any advice I would give would be kind of more from a pastoral sense of, looking after themselves, being kind to themselves, really allowing themselves to ask their teachers for extra help as well, and things like that. But also, how the experience of reading and writing is a part of their education. Just because you do get an English GCSE, but just because it's not like a tangible kind of thing, I think it goes beyond the classroom as well. You can give them a peace of mind, some clarity, some excitement, some fun. And I know that our year 7s love it so much. They always tell us, "Oh, Miss, I write stories at home," but I don't know what happens as they kind of grow older. Some of them lose that shine and that spark that they initially used to have. You often hear, it's really heartbreaking, "I used to read so much." Like, why did you just stop?
Because it's not very popular. It's not trending with certain ages because they see it as an embarrassing thing to do when they get to a certain age.
And they kind of like hide, and then but they shine and they illuminate in primary that excitement. But we do have some readers as well, so for me, my advice is always, be kind to yourselves, to others, get help from your teachers, work hard, read widely, write widely. And I think there really is some core important fundamentals that I don't think has enough space. I don't think creative writing, true creative writing without restrictions. I know you yourself know from year 6, often there's so much frontal adverbials. Here's a simile, here's a metaphor, have a lexical field of light. But genuinely saying you're free, your stories are valid, and writing the way that you want. I wish we had more space for that. Recreational and really kind of writing without boundaries as well. I'd love to see more of that in schools.
Definitely.
And it's something that we kind of have space for. I do a lot of encouraging them to write poetry outside of class, and they bring it in, and they're always so proud. And I'm always so proud of them also. So
mashallah, that's amazing. We have an event not yet planned, but we're hoping once this is all over, this pandemic, to get started and start advertising, inshallah, which is about like careers advice in London. So we're planning to invite different professionals to give advice to young children in how they got there, the route that they took to get to where they are today. And speaking to a professional sometimes helps. Like, say, if there's a young child in the room with us at that time, and they want to become a teacher, maybe specifically an English teacher like yourself, what would they need to do in order to get to where you are today? So, what kind of tips would you give to children that are brainstorming what careers to take? In order to know what they want to do in university, would you say?
I think it depends on their age group. I think the younger ones, it's definitely important to kind of, try hard and but to kind of like unlimit yourself and try to be good at as many things as possible. For those that are a little older, that perhaps are narrowed in. I know with my own sister, she's in sixth form now. She's been having big discussions about her future. But to give yourself as much chances as you can and allow yourself, just to work hard and be studious and to time management is so important, giving yourself the time and actually learning how to revise. And I've always encouraged people, reach out to your local library organization, your school organizations. They will have groups and there are career supports and things like that. And for someone that is and there are many different ways. I think people think, the only way to get to university is by doing A-levels. There are many different roads. People might take time out. They might discover, they might go into an access course. I think they might do a BTEC. And whatever gets them to their end goal is the most important thing. And there are so much routes into getting where you want. And you can change your mind as well and rediscover that, they're young people. I think, who knows from a young age what they want to do forever. I think it's a discovery as they kind of grow into their education and they see, well, I like that part, or I like this aspect of biology, or I love creative writing. And I think it's about giving them as much opportunity. And I really enjoy to see Somali kids deciding to do anything, whatever mode that is, whether that's being creative or whether that's being more mathematics. I just want them to feel like there's nothing they can achieve in all children, because there really is no limits. And we should encourage children to dream ferociously and widely and without boundaries.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much, Warda. Honestly, it's been a joy to have you here today and chatting with you, mashallah. I'm a huge fan. I'm a huge fan of yours, honestly.
And thank you for asking me and for having this, a network, and for bringing creatives together and Somali people to connect and thing. I also appreciate the platform that you're doing.
Thank you. That the idea is to showcase Somali professionals and for our young kids to be proud of, their own community, mashallah. So thank you so much for being part of our season 2 and starting, mashallah, with hopefully many more to come, inshallah. Jazakallah khair, Habibti. I wish you all the best in the future.
Thank you so much. Absolutely. Thank you, honestly, for having me. It's really, really lovely. I hope to stay in touch. And if I'm ever in London, I would love to hope, inshallah, when all this passes as well.
I'm going to hold you to that.
Definitely. Yeah. I'll definitely hold you to that. And I'm really interested in working with kids. I mean, mixing groups. 2 seconds, I'm trying to go on mute and just tell someone off. 2 seconds. Sure. My brother's just in the landing and I'm like, the internet can hear you. That's what I said.
It's okay. It's okay.
It was like,
it's a casual chat.
It is a casual chat. Yeah. But definitely, with mixing groups, we do have a girl from London, and we've had some in Manchester. And so because it's online now, we're very in the local community centre.
Yeah.
Ironically, we've been able to reach more people as well.
Yeah.
But it's maybe just have a go at. There's this book if you're interested in getting your students in particular,
my lot getting them interested in writing and really creativity.
Good. It's for teachers. It's by Kate Clancy. It's called How to Grow Your Own Poem.
Okay.
And it's like teachers, and it's basically millions of kind of like model poems, and on the side is like how to get them how to get to them writing. It's about themselves, their lives, their dreams, and it's really, really fantastic. She's a teacher as well. I think she's an English teacher.
Yeah.
And she's kind of leading, I guess, in the country, you know, getting young people involved in poetry. And so she's, so if you're interested, I'd definitely purchase that book and have a couple of those exercises with your students as well in a break or lunch or whatever, because I'm no doubt with you and your energy and your race as a teacher that they are absolutely just flourishing.
I can't wait. So I wanted to get another one that's signed by you, if that's okay.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm gonna purchase it, send it to you, sign it, and then send it back, inshallah.
Inshallah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, I'll send you my address, and I'm happy to do that as well. If you've not been in touch, there's have you heard of Dr. Muna Abdi, based in Sheffield? She's this incredible force in the city and beyond the city, and she runs like an education consultancy, and she works to kind of like.
May I have her surname?
Muna Abdi. She's on Twitter. She's quite prolific on it.
Okay.
And I'll send you on Twitter, and she's just she's just an inspiration to me and to many others, and she really works hard to, you know, about decolonizing the curriculum and making. She does a lot of anti-racist training.
I know her. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
She's a Sheffield person.
Yeah.
Oh, she's someone to be in touch with. There's Dr. Amal Ali as well. She's Sheffield based as well. So there's loads of really, really incredible women in mashallah in Sheffield that are also inspiring and incredible as well. So let me know. And
I have lots of family in Sheffield, by the way. So
do you?
And it's Bettle Hill, I think.
Oh my God,
that's the area. Yeah. So when I come over there, I'll be looking out for you, inshallah.
It's amazing. Yeah. Well,
and Broomhall. There's an area called Broomhall, I think. Yeah. I've got two families there. Yeah.
That's where I'm from. Yeah. We're based in Broomhall. So I probably know your family. Maybe. It's a small town.
It is a small town. Oh my God. So they know about everything. They know who comes in and who goes out.
It's such a warm and beautiful community, and they really hold people together and lift people up and celebrate people. So it's a really a special place as well. So mashallah, I'm happy to be from here.
Thank you so much, Warda. This is not our last chat. Inshallah, we will have more chats to come, inshallah. Wish you all the best, and jazakallah khair for your time, Habibti.
Thank you very much. You take care. Bye.